Welcome back, everyone. It's Brian returning to you from my backyard paradise. It has been quite some time. Got a little catching up to do. I'm going to do something a little bit different today. May not be as pepper related, but should be quite fun. Stick around. Like I said, it's been a while. You've probably noticed some changes already. But I'm here, as usual, in my same happy place, my paradise backyard, as I said, and there's a woodpecker off in the distance. So if you hear someone play a quick Ringo Starr drum solo, that's him. What's been going on? So, a couple things. If you'll notice, go back all the way through the magic of YouTube to 2022. Watch the video I took with the Apocalypse chocolate with my co-worker Corey. You will notice in that video that particular pepper affected me more than it probably should have. There was a reason for that. Shortly after that video, and by shortly I don't mean like that day or anything like that, but a month or so later, I started feeling pains in my the back of my throat and my jaw, and it would sort of radiate down into my throat, and it wasn't like heartburn. It was like actual pain, like just an intense pressure built up in my mouth. And I decided, maybe I should defy fat guy logic and just go to the doctor. So I did. Turns out it was probably a good idea. I had a silent reflux for probably a good while, and it had damaged my all of this back here. So when I ate that particular pepper, it was in the damaged areas is where it was hurting the most. And you hear me talk about it a couple of times in the video, and I didn't realize until I watched it back fairly recently that was what was happening. And I was actually alluding to it and didn't even realize. But I kind of put a damper on things for a little bit. I continued the rest of that season with milder stuff. It wasn't really anything super bad, and I powered through. And then the next year, so let's go to 2023. I made a little oopsie in the garden. So at the end of 22, I have a large willow oak in my front yard. It's one of the biggest trees in the neighborhood, and at the end of the year, it just covers the entire yard and half of my neighbor's yard in these long finger-sized leaves. So I took a whole bunch of them, and I just at the end of the year in 2022, I threw them in my garden, my raised bed garden that I built in 22, and I had a layer about that thick of leaves that I let decay over the winter. Well, they decayed down to, a good bit. There was a lot of good stuff in my soil at that time. So last year, in 23, I decided that I was just going to cut little holes in the leaves, put my plants in, and that would be that. Unbeknownst to me, having not done the proper research on this, that was a really bad idea, because as it turns out, when you are breaking down that much organic matter of the brown type, it needs a lot of nitrogen to do so. So I was leaching all the nitrogen from the soil to break down that layer of leaf mulch. And it stunted my plants to the point where at the end of the season, some of them never got above this big. Some of them just died. They just couldn't survive at all. For like right near the very end, around October, like mid-October, I had a couple that shot up about like that, and maybe I didn't see my whole hand there, but about like that, and produced one, maybe two pods. But last year I got nothing almost. It was terrible. So you probably noticed there was no grow season 2023. I shot one video back in September because I did manage to get something in one of my container plants, but it wasn't impressive. I wasn't comfortable doing a single time thing. I may release it as part of this year as like a bonus. I don't even remember what it was at this point. I did transfer it all to my PC, so it should be there. I just have to put it all together like a normal video. I don't know, but we'll see. So this year, I have cleaned the top of the garden out completely. I'm going to add about 6 more inches of garden soil into it just to make sure those top couple of layers are in significantly better shape for planting. Hopefully this year will be better. I have a few things going on. So what is on deck for this year? I'm gonna do some other things, I think. I'm gonna do, because if you may or may not be able to see, but like I've got a lot of plants up here, and not all of them are edible. Some of them are just, you know, to look at and that sort of thing. So I may start doing a couple videos like that. And I mean, I recognize this is Brian's Pepper Garden channel. That's still going to be the primary focus of any videos that I try and do for the future. But I figured it might be nice to have an aside, like maybe I'll switch and start doing some tomato videos, because there are a lot of different peppers out there. There are a lot of different tomatoes, and my goodness, I love tomatoes. And if you like salsa, you like tomatoes. That's the fact. You gotta have peppers, you gotta have tomatoes to do salsa, and then pretty much any onion. It doesn't matter at that point. But yeah, so that I might branch out and see what other kind of stuff I can get into. The reflux has gotten pretty well managed at this point. I haven't eaten a super hot in almost 2 years because of it. If I do this year, I've got at least one super hot that I'm growing this year. It may not be wise for me to eat the whole thing. I may try a little bit of a different one, because I'm regrowing one. But I may try a little bit of that one to see if it's just absolutely miserable, but it's not worth affecting my health for these videos. So, what is on deck for this video? Well, today I decided I was going to fire up my AeroGarden, and I needed to clean it out, and then I needed to figure out what I was going to put in it. So I was flipping through my seed packet that I've got. I'm not going to put peppers in the AeroGarden. I'm going to put herbs in there, you know, specifically leafy herbs that I use when cooking all the time. Mostly what I use it for is basil. Like, I get a lot of basil in there because our summers here are really hot, and the basil tends to wilt quickly and die and go very quickly to seed, and then just like it has trouble here. But in the AeroGarden, I can keep trimming it back, and it usually does pretty well for a few months. So that's what I did last year. I grabbed one called the Crimson King, which is a purple basil. And if anyone knows me, they know that purple's my favorite color, and basil is one of my favorite things to put in a lot of my food. So it was perfect, you know, I had to have that. So I decided to seed it. I let it go to seed, I got all the seed pods, and now, as I was getting ready to plant it, I realized that I hadn't actually separated the seeds from the pods. So I decided today I'm going to show you how I do that. It may help, it may not, but if it does, let me know. So what do you need? You need a few things. First thing you'll need is basil pods. So I only have a couple of these left because I realized that I wanted to shoot this video after I had gotten done with most of them. But at the end of the year, you're going to end up with several very large sticks of dead leaves that look like this. Let's see if I can get it to focus here. Maybe. There we go. So these are the dead dead flowers. They self-pollinate, so you don't have to do anything special. You can have one plant and it'll pollinate and give you these. It's better to have more than one because you get more. Always remember. That's the first thing you'll need. The second thing you'll need is a pestle or a spoon. It can be, the best would be kind of a ladle with a flat bottom edge that you can push down on. Third thing you'll need is a bowl for it to fall into, a nice good sized bowl, and you will need a sieve or sifter. And if you'll notice, this one's not super fine There's a few millimeters between each. You can get them, the ones that are super fine, but it's not going to work for this. You need to have something that will allow the seeds to fall through. So what is the procedure? Pretty simple. I'm going to bring you in closer and we'll watch. All right, got a little bit closer. I might have to do some normalization to make sure my voice is the right volume. There's also a bird, that one in the background, that decided it also wanted to be loud, but here's the procedure, fairly simple. Now, as you'll see, I've kind of done this with most of my stalks already, so they're kind of empty. But you take the stalks that have the flowers on them, and it's as simple as just pinching the flowers off. You don't have to be gentle, you just pinch and twist, and I'm sure it's probably focusing on the wrong part of this, but pinch and twist until all the flowers are off. You don't have to be gentle. If you don't get all of them, it doesn't matter. You're going to get a lot from this. And this was just the last one. I spent, about 3 minutes doing the others. It is not a long process. Again, do not be particular about it. At the end of the day, you're going to end up with a bunch of empty stalks that look like that. Just discard those. They're no longer needed. So now you've got all this at the bottom of your sifter. Now what? Well, you could start by just sifting. And what this is going to do is all the little seeds that are in the bottom of those flowers are going to fall out and fall through automatically. But this is not enough. This is not violent enough to break a lot of those seeds free, because these are meant to be picked apart by birds and the like. So take your spoon or your pestle, give it a good grind through here. I'm doing this outside because it may create a little bit of a mess. And doing it on video, I'm doing it at a different angle, so I'm not super used to it. But I'm just giving it a quick grind. I may center this up just a little bit more. You can tell I'm not used to doing videos like this. And get it right in the center of the frame. I have a nice breeze coming through and blowing stuff all over the place. I might have to track something down here. I'm just going to keep doing this. I don't need to get all of it through. I just want to get a lot of it through. Let's see how much we got left there. That's quite a bit still. Don't be afraid to be not gentle with it. There's going to be a lot of junk that comes through with it, but we're going to separate it out here. And I'm going to show you another place where I'm going to take you to another place where I show you how I separate it. It's a very neat little process. But you know what? That's probably enough. That's probably more than enough. So I'm just going to set that off to the side. So what we've got left here, whoop, don't hit my bowl. You'll break my bowl. What we've got left here is this conglomerate of parts of the flowers mixed in with these little black seeds that are kind of hard to see, but that's one. See if I can just isolate one seed and put it on my fingertip here for you. There you go. That right there. That's what, it fell. Either way, you're going to see a whole lot of these here in a minute. So, tweezers, you can go through, you can go bit by bit and just pull the seeds out. But I like to do this a little bit differently. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take all this junk and I'm going to discard it. And I'm not going to do it in any specific way. I'm going to throw it out in the yard. If stuff grows, it grows. Cool, that'd be sweet. And we've got a bunch of trash left in the bottom of this that got kind of stuck. Don't have to worry about that too much. Just sort of pat it around, knock it free, discard it, and let us return this back to the bowl, or back to the sifter. I'm just put my hand in the bottom of it to prevent everything from coming through. It shouldn't spill too much, but why make a mess if you don't have to? Yeah, so a little bit got through. You just put that in the bowl here. Now we give this a gentle sift, because there's a lot of big stuff we shoved through the first time that we didn't need to get through. I'm going to bounce it around a little bit. Pretty simple. Now pretty much everything that's left in here is organic matter. There may be a seed or two left in there, but honestly, I'm not worried about it, because you know what? There's a bunch of them in there. So we're going to discard that, throw it over my shoulder, and I'm probably going to repeat this process a time or two. All right, look at the bottom there. That's almost all seeds. There's a little bit of chaff over here. We'll get rid of that, and I'll show you the method here in a bit. And then we're just going to very gently, a little less violently this time. And I can see already that most of that is seeds that have come through. Toss the rest, and yep, I confirm when the wind picked up there, I watched it flow off into nothingness. So now we've pretty much got what's going to come through every time. After you do this a couple times, it's not going to get a whole lot better. You can continue doing it the other way if you want to, if you don't feel like doing the next method, but I like the next method and it's fun. So let's go elsewhere where I show you how this part works. Now we're going to separate the seeds from the chaff. All right, I've moved to a slightly safer spot for this, and when I say safe, I mean a place where I can just get rid of all this junk without worrying about it. At the bottom here, we have lots of seeds, lots of chaff as described before. I'm going to step aside so I'm not doing this directly into my microphone here, and I'm going to show you the process. It's very simple. What you do, hopefully you can still hear me, is you shake it around and give it a gentle blow. As you see, chaff is going away, seeds tend to stay. Now, if you blow too hard, you will blow the seeds out, so it's gentle. It really is just a little bit more than a breath. It's like when you're trying to catch your breath after a walk up a flight of stairs. Check this out. Am I losing seeds? Probably. I may end up having a couple growing in the planter here next to me, but I'm looking down here on my arm where I've got a bunch of stuff that's fallen out. None of this looks to be a seed. I've got some on my hand down here on the railing of the deck here. None of these are seeds. So if you do lose some, it's going to be a small percentage compared to what you're getting rid of. And at this point, most of what's in there is seeds. There's a little bit of dead plant material, but for the most part, you're looking at a pile of seeds. We're talking hundreds, maybe even 1,000 seeds here. And this all came from one plant, one single plant. We're back with our leftover product. We have a labeled bag. You can possibly see it from there. I can hold it closer. Crimson King, purple basil, in parentheses. Because if I write Crimson King, I'm going to think a couple of years from now, I have a pepper that I haven't tried and I've had the seeds for it this whole time. And then I'm going to grow basil thinking, this is going to be fun. And it will be, but it won't be the pepper that I hope it is. You can use a funnel for this, probably better and safer. Just pop the funnel into your bag, but I'm not going to bother with that because I have a ton of these already. Oop, I didn't even show that part. So you know what? I'm going to do it again. Pour some back in there. And just very gently let it trickle into the bag, and there you go. Oh, wait, you know what? A couple more. There you go. So now, that is a bag full of basil seeds. A little bit of organic matter in there. That is way easier to sift through than trying to pull it all out of the flower pods at the end of the year. So where did I get this plant? Local nurseries. Support your local nurseries. I don't work for one. I probably never will work for one, although it would be a fantastic job. If I thought that it could pay as much as my current job does, I'd probably go into that. But it's important. Anything that you get from them, if you're able to propagate it for yourself, then, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. Me personally, I don't think paying $4 for a basil plant every year is a good way to keep basil on hand. I could just get them big thing of McCormick basil for $8 is probably going to last me for a couple of years. But if I pay $4 one time and I get this many seeds out of it, the amount of basil that I can now create for myself is almost unlimited, because each of these is going to create a plant that's going to produce this many seeds, keep in mind. So that's pretty much the whole process. As far as starting basil seeds goes, it's very simple. You put them in dirt. Like, you don't sow them too low. Few across the top, pat them down, a little dirt over top of them, keep them watered, they'll sprout up and you'll have nice healthy plants in no time. And I mean, that's it. I'm not going to do a video on how to plant basil. There's a million other channels out there that are probably significantly better set up for that, but I wanted to show you the simple process that I use to get the seeds. So hopefully the rest of this season goes well. I have quite a few plants coming in, and if it does, you'll be hearing more from me this year. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, stay spicy, and I'll see you soon.